How you doing? Hope everybody is well. Our eve of Christmas Eve, the calm before the proverbial storm as we go into our Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We're going to liven this forecast up, I would imagine. So sit back, kind of relax. You can put the feet up if you want. I can. It would look unprofessional, but at least in my mind, this is still the relaxing day for those of us in the weather department before the action starts to arrive later on. Tomorrow, looking at Christmas lights. It's one of my favorite things, too. Katie and I did this with the dog over the weekend. This house, by the way, in the background of this image, this is in Irondequoit. This is the best one that I've seen. Your forecast here, if you want to go see lights tonight, looks great. We got cloudy skies. There might be a random teeny tiny raindrop or two out there, maybe even 3. I think we'll cut it at 3. Temperatures are in the 40s, otherwise we are dry. It is not going to be as savory or as pleasant of an experience on the roadways, though, tomorrow night. That's going to be one that is tougher to travel around, even if just looking at lights. With some improvement into Christmas night. There'll be some snow showers left over, but tomorrow's going to be tough. Radar situation here for now. I would imagine that a lot of this is probably Virga, which is precip that is falling but not reaching the ground. But that's why we said there might be a handful of drops in there. That batch is primarily east of Rochester, getting into Wayne County. This is the big storm system set to arrive going into the day tomorrow. You see the big curvature out of this. Just kind of all the classic telltale look and feel here of a potent storm system with that comma head structure. This is going to be a tricky one for us locally. Now, we got a lot of headlines to talk about. Those are lake snow warnings in effect. Genesee, Wyoming counties. Those are Thursday night through Saturday, set to expire at 7 p.m. In pink, now this is out of our viewing area, but in pink, those are winter storm warnings. These guys in green, from Ithaca toward Binghamton, those are flood watches in effect. Now you will note here, nothing. We don't have anything in Rochester, Monroe County. We've got no watches, warnings, no advisories. That may not stay that way. I get the feeling that we may need some winter weather advisories, and that might suffice here as we go into tomorrow night. But we'll see. That's all handled by our friends at the National Weather Service office out of Buffalo. So this is kind of how we see this before we take a run at FUTUREVIEW here. Let's talk precip chances, and you'll note that this graphic, it starts off tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. It runs all the way into early Christmas afternoon. The flavor of the forecast tomorrow is going to be really warm through a good chunk of the daylight hours on Thursday. Rain chances will start low. They will then progressively ramp up as we go into the afternoon and then into Thursday night, eventually to a point where they will peak at about 100% rain chances. Where the dicey element of this forecast comes into play is going to be closer toward 9, 10, 11 o'clock and beyond. We're going to have still a lot of moisture around, but by that point temperatures are falling quickly and likely falling enough that we introduce some semblance of a wintry mix. That could be rain, that could be sleet, there could be some limited freezing rain, and eventually the end game destination out of this is going to be a transition to snow as some of the moisture starts to peel its way on out. This is how our in-house model sees it. This is, we call it the RPM, we just name it FUTUREVIEW for television's sake. You're in the upper 40s by 9:30 tomorrow morning. There's your 50s. And I want you to look at this guy closely right here. Right there. Right in there. That's the cold front. And along that front, there's going to be some heavy rain. But more importantly, with one more click here, so you're at 53 at 3 o'clock. By 6 o'clock, you're at 38. 25-degree drop about in 3 hours. And now we got a lot of things on this graphic that are a little bit more concerning, perhaps. Now, so all of this stuff here, it's going to be a lot of rain, but it's rain. I can live with that. What I don't like seeing across some of the higher elevations here, and this is where the terrain becomes so important, this mixing in pink, what is that going to be? And unfortunately, models are not always perfect when it has pink up there, and you see how that corresponds on this map to mixed. That could be anything. It could be rain, snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Now, there's a few more attractive options out of that. There's one really not attractive option out of that, which is freezing rain. That's the one we want to avoid at all costs, is the notion of freezing rain. I've been trying to go back through some of these models off screen and looking what we call it soundings, model soundings, not only of what does it say precip-wise, but we're looking up hundreds and thousands of feet in the atmosphere. And we're trying to analyze what are these snowflakes or raindrops as they fall down through the air. What is their end game? Are they going to stay snow? Is it going to stay rain? Is there going to be a significant enough depth of cold air to turn what melts into a sleet pellet? Or is it going to be shallow enough that when that snowflake melts, it refreezes on contact in the form of freezing rain? I'm inclined to think there's going to be more sleet than freezing rain. Inclined. But there's some inherent acceptance there that there will be some freezing rain. And that is a big element that we've got to watch out of this. Now, 8:30 tomorrow night. I think this model is too fast with the cold air, but we'll take it at face value just for argument's sake. Your transition line now is working its way through Rochester. It has now crossed over 390, so a brief period of a wintry mix with some sleet, and then we go over to snow. And this is where you get your accumulating snow as you wake up on Christmas morning. There's still a lot. I wish there wasn't still a lot, but a lot of differences of opinion in some of the reliable guidance that we look at with how quickly the cold air comes in, the changing over of rain to whatever it's going to change over to. Is it an abrupt change over to snow, or do we end up exhausting a lot of our precip as sleet? And sleet's just yucky. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't really accumulate. It's the lesser of two evils between freezing rain, but that would kill snowfall accumulation chances. If we end up with a whole bunch of sleet, this map will be wrong. We're going with about 2 to 4 inches of snow, roughly from Rochester and west side of town, a little bit less than that eastward, just because that colder air takes longer to get in before the moisture starts to peel out. But as we often tell you, and I would argue that this one certainly falls into that category, pay attention to the latest updates with these maps. What I am showing you now might be different later on in time as we get some new data coming in here. I keep watching this very closely, the notion of how much freezing rain could fall. Again, you heard me mention before, I would like to think that this is more of a sleet setup than freezing rain, but it's very close, and even just a few hundredths of an inch of freezing rain can cause big problems around here. I mentioned this during the 6 o'clock. There's a part of me that does not really want to split hairs here on it's going to go rain and then a wintry mix and then snow. I like to forecast more from the impact standpoint. I really don't care as much about which one of each of those phases we get. I want to more know what's it going to mean for you if you've got to drive. Who cares if some of it's freezing rain? If the impact is going to be the same regardless, then it's going to be the same regardless. So I'm here to tell you now, it's not going to be real fun driving around here tomorrow night and into Friday morning. Conditions will improve through the day Friday as the everybody moisture moves out. We'll transition to some lake effect, so we'll have some favored areas that will still be really bad for travel, but it won't be Rochester by that point. Even into Christmas, even into the weekend, the two spots that I think will be very difficult to be on roadways, number one will be toward the Tug Hill. Number two is going to be along the thruway from Buffalo all the way to Erie, Pennsylvania. Both of those spots may end up with 1 to 2 feet of snow before this is said and done. But in Rochester, we're not really getting in on the lake effect element of that. So obviously our totals are significantly lower. It's going to be a cold weekend. A few leftover lake flakes continue, especially east of Rochester on Saturday. And then we got our next system coming in early next week with what appears to be a rain-snow mix. Next newscast tonight is at 11. I'll be back with you at about 9:30 on a Facebook Live on our WROC Facebook page with a new update on the situation.